Hi everybody, this is Jewel. I have your Unit 3 overview here for you today. Unit 3 is a unit where we start looking at nursing theory, how nursing theory was developed. I hope you really enjoy watching the history of nursing video. I find it absolutely fascinating. Part of what I've always enjoyed, especially as being a NICU nurse, is hearing stories from nurses that have gone before me of how they used to care for the smallest little infants before we had all the fantastic technology that we had. And so I really enjoy the evolution of how nursing became a profession. And I hope that you really enjoyed that video as well. For this week, we're going to start to understand the concepts of theories, how theory has transitioned into nursing, being a profession based on knowledge. The readings are going to help you explore how nurses transfer that knowledge to consumers, and you should start to begin to have some understanding on how theory leads to nursing models that we currently see today. Questions that I want you to be thinking about this week as you're doing this unit are, what is the role of theory in the profession of nursing? How do we as nurses use theory to care for our patients and their loved ones? And how do we as a profession disseminate our nursing knowledge to others in healthcare and to one another within the field of nursing? What is critical thinking and how can we do it better? This week is chock full of videos and forums and a paper that you need to write for me and a bunch of different materials. And so let me just kind of pick out some highlighted things for this week to really kind of help you zero in where your focus needs to be. You'll have two forums that you're going to complete for your professor this week. Forum 1 is asking you to identify who is someone who is just a general nursing theorist. And I'll give you a guide and kind of pointing you in the right direction with that. But somebody who would just be considered a general nursing theorist. I want you to identify someone who's a systems theorist. Really, their theory talks about the systems of how we input and output patients into healthcare. And then lastly, I want you to identify someone who would be considered a caring theorist. Again, if you look through Moodle, I've given you some kind of hints to help guide you in the right direction with this. But one of the websites that I want to gear you towards that I find helpful is a site called Nurses Info Site. Again, there's a link to that in Moodle, but that is a great site. It has a bunch of different nursing theorists, grand theorists, mid-range theorists, all sorts of theorists there that you can kind of scroll through and pick through and hopefully learn something new by going into there. So again, find one theorist that would fall into each of those categories. So for this, you are finding 3 different theorists and you are explaining who the theorist is and why you put them in that category of either general theorist, systems theorist, or caring theorist. And then of course, read the directions on that forum post. I believe you respond to your peers by Sunday of that week. The second post that you are going to do on Wednesday, you're going to want to watch the History of Nursing video sometime early in the week so that you have the knowledge that you need to go about doing this post. But what I want you to do is when you're watching the History of Nursing video, sit back, enjoy it. It's not a terribly long video, maybe 30, 40 minutes at the absolute most. I want you to have a piece of paper and a pencil and start kind of thinking through what trends did you see taking place throughout history that helped develop nursing into the profession that it is today. So you are to identify 5 trends that have helped shape nursing into a profession, and then again, by Sunday, you're to look at what your peers posted and you're to respond back as indicated in that forum assignment in Moodle. For Sunday of this week, the assignment that you have due is to I've got to stop here for a second. Compare and contrast Goshen College's Department of Nursing philosophy with your own kind of philosophy. So again, in the syllabus, you are going to look for the Goshen College Philosophy of Nursing paper. And what I want you to do is to compare and contrast that with your own. philosophy of nursing? Where are there things where you completely align with what we at Goshen College believe? Are there things that you think, oh boy, that was missing, or I'm not sure that I completely agree with that? That's what I'm asking you to kind of look at this week, is where are there places that we align? Where are there places that maybe we don't align quite so closely? And then we have a couple of PowerPoints that we're going to go through this week as well. So let me share my screen with you and we'll get started on going through those. Let's start with one that's just a very simple one. This is from Hildegard of Bingen. Again, she is someone who, Jean Watson, who you will hear referenced quite a bit in this course, really admired. She is from the 12th century. Here is a picture of her, and from the poems that I have to believe that she was perhaps a nun or somehow affiliated with the church. But I had the privilege of getting to hear Jean Watson speak. It's been 2 years ago by now at Notre Dame, and she highlighted this piece of artwork. And for any of you that are well versed in Jean Watson, and what she really likes about this piece of artwork is not only that Hildegard is here in the center of it, but she really liked the concentric circles, kind of indicating the unity of the universe around Hildegard, and kind of the energy flowing and all of those things. So I just add this piece of artwork for us to look at and kind of know that this is a piece of artwork that really speaks closely to Jean Watson. So here are two quotes from Hildegard, one being, "A human being is a vessel that God has built for himself and filled with his inspiration so that his works are perfected in it." And then her second quote is just entitled, "A Prayer of Awareness. God is the foundation for everything. This God undertakes, God gives. Such not nothing that is necessary for life is lacking. Now humankind needs a body that all times honors and praises God. This body is supported in every way through the earth. Thus the earth glorifies the power of God." The next thing that I'm going to share with you is a PowerPoint on nursing theorists here. So we'll switch gears into a little bit more of the work that's a little bit more pertinent to the class here, but I thought that was just interesting to share with you, Hildegard there. Nursing theories, paradigms, and such. Why nursing theory? Again, the major reason that we use theory is for structuring and advancing our nursing knowledge to help with our nursing practice. Nightingale taught us that nursing theories describe and explain what is considered nursing and what is not nursing. Creative nursing practice can be the direct result of ongoing theory-based thinking, decisions, and actions of nurses. Here's a little bit of vocab for you. A view or idea that we hold about something ranging from something highly concrete to something highly abstract. A construct is also sometimes used. It is generally more complex than something that is a concept. So concept, a view or idea that we hold about something. A construct is something that's a little bit more complex than just a simple concept. The most abstract thing that we have is our nursing meta paradigm, and then we have our conceptual models or frameworks, and then the least abstract are our theories. We have grand, mid-range, and situation-specific. The meta paradigm, a framework for a discipline that sets forth phenomena of interest and the propositions, principles, and methods of the discipline. So again, this is the most abstract kind of concept that you can have. The nursing meta paradigm, which of course you know by now or remember, encompasses person, environment, health, and nursing. For week 4, you are going to want to, again, as I mentioned earlier, be able to know who different nursing theorists are, general, systems, and caring. There are conceptual models out there or frameworks that have been developed. They're kind of a structure or kind of an image sometimes to show us how concepts kind of interrelate together. This says to provide a structural view of concepts. They're slightly less abstract than the meta paradigm, but they're not something that we completely observe either. Concepts are broader, less defined than in a theory. A theory is a set of interrelated constructs or concepts, definitions. They present in a systematic way, and they have relationships among the variables. Again, this will become a little bit clearer as you kind of read some of the different nursing theorists and what they have to say. Let's look at Madeline Leininger, for example. She has this transcultural caring kind of model. A model, again, is just a depiction of kind of how she sees things kind of being interrelated. So a graphic representation of some kind of phenomena. Again, this could be a theory or it could be a framework. So again, this is just an example of her kind of putting her theory into kind of pictorial depiction there for us. Nightingale focused on nurses' role in manipulating the environment. She was always focused on the environment because in that day and time, that was kind of revolutionary in and of itself. Her emphasis on the environment came from her experiences in the Crimean War, as we know. I'm sorry, this is a very small slide. Hopefully you can see it okay. Virginia Henderson is kind of the modern day Nightingale for us. She emphasized that patients have specific needs and that their needs all lead towards independence, that even the most incapacitated person, that we should try to be helping them gain independence in whatever way, shape, or form possible. And that there are these basic 14 needs that patients had. To breathe normally and eat and drink, to eliminate bodily waste, to move and be able to reposition themselves, to gather, sleep, and rest, to select suitable clothing and to be able to dress and undress themselves. Again, to maintain thermodynamics by either adjusting the environmental temperature or their own clothing, to be able to groom and keep themselves clean, to be safe or avoid dangers in the environment or avoid injuring others, to be able to communicate emotions, needs, fears, or opinions, to worship or have their own spirituality, to work in a way that has a sense of accomplishment or meaning in their life, to play or have various forms of recreation, to learn, discover, or satisfy curiosity that leads to normal development and health of their own faculties. So again, I think she covered things pretty well. Those are all super important to human beings. We have Dorothea Johnson's behavioral systems model. Her goal is that a behavioral system should be in balance and in the highest possible functioning for the patient. We have Dorothea Orm. She has this self-care deficit nursing theory where the nurse is assisting the individual with self-care practices when there's a deficit. Sort of similar to the previous one that we looked at here, Henderson kind of outlines these 14 areas where we need to be independent, and then Orm is saying again, but the nurse's role is to assist the individual when there's kind of a deficit. Martha Rogers is a very interesting theorist. She has the science of unitary human beings. It's looking at the task that the nurse is to promote coherence between individuals and their environment. So again, focused on the environment, but Martha Rogers is really looking at kind of energy fields and stuff. It's a little bit kind of hard to kind of wrap your head around some of the energy field things that Martha Rogers is talking about. We have Sister Callista Roy. She has this adaptation model where nurses are to strive to promote adaptation in 4 areas: the physical, self-concept, role function, and interdependence. Interdependence. Oh, there it is, interdependence of our patients. Grand theories are those that have developed through ideas and creativity. They are less abstract than conceptual models, as we already mentioned, and they frequently cannot be tested empirically. Leininger's theory of cultural diversity centers on providing culturally congruent nursing care. So again, until you get to know all the cultural practices surrounding one person, you cannot provide them holistic care. I remember taking care of a patient in the Denver metro area that came from an Islamic background, something that I'm not well versed in. And so I was just asking during the admission, tell me a little bit about your spiritual beliefs, about your practices, so that we can provide kind of holistic care. So it's important when you come across somebody who has practices or beliefs that you're unfamiliar with to gather that knowledge so that you can provide care that can be kind of culturally congruent to what they're needing and expecting. We've got Newman's theory of health as an expanding consciousness, that there's 3 levels of nursing intervention: primary, secondary, and tertiary. We've got Parse's theory of human becoming, viewing nursing as a human science that focuses on persons and health. And then we jump into these middle range theories. Again, the more that we kind of pare this down from meta paradigm down to theories, down to middle range theories, these start becoming more and more applicable at the bedside. So again, mid-range theories are narrower in scope. They're limited in number of concepts and limited to aspects of the real world. We like that. Here are some mid-range theorists for us to look at. We have Peplau's process of practice-based theory development and its application. This theory just centers on interpersonal processes in nursing. We got Orlando's theory of deliberate nursing process, Watson's theory of human caring. So again, Watson identifies the caring relationship and the 10 caritas that form from the core of nursing. And then we got Nola Pender's health promotion model of how do we go about promoting health. Now, do not get yourself mixed up as I'm talking to you about general systems and caring theorists. We're going to switch gears here, and we're going to go a little bit into how nursing theory developed. And it developed really from theories that were non-nursing. So again, a lot of the first theories that we used were developmental theories. So Maslow, for example, and his hierarchy of needs that he came up with. We kind of based our theories on Maslow's theory, but Maslow's theory in and of itself is not a nursing theory. Again, we have Erickson, another developmentalist who is looking at the 8 stages of human development. Again, we definitely learn about these as we go into nursing school. What do we expect from different people at different age groupings? But again, not a nursing theorist. We just build our theories upon this knowledge. We have Piaget and his look at cognitive development there, of what do we expect from 0 to 2, 2 to 6, 7 to 12, 12 to adult, as far as kind of thinking processes. The following theorists were really strongly influenced by other disciplines. Roy has this Lazarus adaptation theory and is very well versed in physiology. Martha Rogers, again, she's the one that I talked about that had the energy fields, and she's strongly rooted in humanist philosophy and evidence of liberal education. Leininger, we know from her working with cultural congruency that her primary bend is kind of based in anthropology. And then we have Johnson and her kind of being really rooted in behavioral psychology. So some of these theorists, it's kind of very easy to see that the knowledge that they had or the education that they had shone through in the theories that they developed. So to summarize, the more specific the theory is, the more easily it's adapted for use in the practice setting. Global theories might serve as frameworks for research. Theories from related disciplines have helped shape nursing practice, and all theories have the potential to make contributions to the nursing profession. When you're using a nursing theory, you want to kind of ask yourself, does this reflect nursing practice as I know it? Can this be understood in relationship to the practice that I give at the bedside? Will it support what I believe to be excellent nursing practice? And is the theory specific to my area of nursing? Can the language of theory help me explain, plan, or evaluate my nursing? And will I ever be able to use the terms to communicate with others? Like, do we have this shared language? Can this theory be considered in relationship to a wide range of nursing situations? And how does it relate to more general views of nursing people versus nursing in other settings? All right, and let's skip to our last PowerPoint here, which is your ANA books on standards and ethics the ANA has given us. Again, feel free to pause me at any point if you need to get up and walk around here. We've got one more to get through here for week 3. The practice of nursing. Nursing is an art, and if it is to be made an art, it requires an exclusive a devotion, as hard a preparation as any painter or sculptor's work. For that is the having to do with the dead canvas or the cold marble compared to having to do with the living body, the temple of God's Spirit. It is one of the fine arts. I had almost said the finest of the fine arts, said Florence Nightingale. So again, comparing the work of nursing to that as a sculptor in the care and delicacy of the work that we have to do. So it is the ANA, the American Nursing Association, that has created the standards of practice for nursing. They have given us diagnosing and treatment of human responses. And the nurse is an individual who is licensed by a state agency to practice. Clinical standards, as you know in your book, are sectioned into 2 sections. There are standards of practice, which again is our nursing process for providing care that we assess, diagnose, identify outcomes, plan, implement, and evaluate. We all know that part. I kind of find that to be the boring part of standards in practice. The next part is where I find it's a little bit more interesting, and I don't know that we as practicing nurses always know that there's all these standards out there. So again, I hope that you find this informative in looking through the book. Obviously, we have our own ethics that we follow. We have to have this idea of culturally congruent practice. Who mentioned that? That was Madeline Leininger. Communication, collaboration, leadership, education, evidence-based practice, quality of practice, professional practice evaluations, resource utilization, and environmental health. Hopefully all of those concepts seem super familiar to you. If not, just find the chapter on that and read up on it. You also have a book on the Code of Ethics, and we'll do some work with that during this class. But again, know that we have this guidelines that we are to follow. The nurse is to practice with compassion and respect for the inherent dignity, worth, uniqueness of every individual. The nurse's primary commitment is to the patient, family, group, or community. The nurse is to promote, advocate for, and protect the health, safety, and rights of the patient. The nurse has authority, accountability, and responsibility for his or her own nursing practice. They owe the same duties to themselves as to others. So we are to care for ourselves with the same hypervigilance that we are supposed to care for others. Nurses are supposed to participate in establishing, maintaining, and improving ethical and safe, high-quality workplace environments as an individual and as a collective action. So again, in those times where you're seeing things that are being done unsafely or you have ideas, please know that ethically you're kind of called to bring forth those things, point them out. Again, you're to be advocating for your patient. So do it in a positive way, but don't let those things slide. Nurses are to advance the profession through research, professional standard development, and generation of policy. We are to collaborate with other health professionals and the public. And as part of the nursing profession, we are responsible for articulating nursing values, maintaining integrity, integrating social justice into our practice and policy. We as practicing nurses have a number of roles. We are caregivers, teachers, advocates, managers, colleagues, experts, and ethicists. ACLE here has these nursing intervention classifications. Again, these two nursing researchers at the University of Iowa, again, go Hawkeyes, we're huge Iowa Hawkeye fans, I just have to give that a little shout out, have been conducting research projects since the 1990s to develop a taxonomy of the interventions that nurses can use in practice. And to date, there are 443 interventions by nurses. We touched on this a little bit last week, but interventions that we have related to quality, for example, again, as I said, for BAP patients are elevating the bed, suctioning appropriately, all those things that we do that fall under our nursing care. Again, we have 443 nursing-specific interventions. The AACN, the American Association of College of Nurses, which we are accredited through, also have essentials that we are called to do. These are essentials for the BSN program, which is what you are in. They include having a liberal arts education, so you can check that one off, that you have this basis of information that will help guide your practice. That you have basic organizational and systems leadership for quality care and patient safety, which is why even if you've already taken a leadership class in your associate degree, that we're really going to hammer that one home again, that leadership is such an important, again, essential part of having your bachelor's degree. That you are called upon to be able to have scholarship for evidence-based practice, meaning that as a bachelor's prepared nurse that you kind of know how to look up research and kind of understand research and again be able to put that into practice. Information management and application of patient care technology, that you have the skills to again manage the technology that's there at your patient's bedside. That you have a basic understanding of healthcare policy, finance, and the regulatory environment. Again, this primarily comes through in your 2 clinical classes, although perhaps some in healthcare disparities as well, where we look at healthcare policies, including financial and regulatory, and how those things impact our nursing practice. We are called upon to provide you with an interprofessional communication and collaboration for improving patient healthcare outcomes. So hopefully as a result of going through this program, you understand and can really focus while you're in your own practice on how important it is to communicate and collaborate amongst healthcare professionals to provide the highest quality and safe patient care. I just recorded a video that you'll watch next week on the Wesrick book, and one of the clinical scenarios that I present in that YouTube video really is talking about how we as nurses are really called upon to make sure that we collaborate with the healthcare team. We as nurses are called to do clinical prevention and population health. That's why you, again, even if you've already taken a community health class, you repeat that here at the bachelor's level, that we're really called upon as bachelor's prepared nurses to help with population health. And then again, just reiterating the professionalism and professional values that should shine through in the care that you give as a baccalaureate nurse. It is the baccalaureate generalist nurse practice who is prepared to practice with patients, including individuals, families, groups, and communities, and populations across the lifespan and across the continuum of healthcare environments. And once you complete this degree, you should also understand and respect the various variation in care, the increasing complexity, and the increased use of health resources that's just inherent in caring for our patients. Our Department of Nursing says that nursing takes place in a dynamic partnership with individuals, families, and communities. This is a little hint at that philosophy of nursing, that nursing is a dynamic process between the nurse and client that facilitates health, that it utilizes interpersonal processes, critical thinking, decision-making, as well as cognitive, affective, and psychomotor skills, that it is enhanced by research, that nurses evolve towards wholeness and impact the wholeness of others. For us, nursing is rooted in the human science, liberal arts, natural and social sciences, and the Judeo-Christian faith. We embrace all nursing practice, which has healing of the whole person as its goal. Holism involves the study and understanding of relationships of the psychosocial, spiritual dimensions of the person, and that we draw on knowledge, theories, expertise, and intuition to guide nurses in becoming therapeutic partners with our clients. Again, we'll get into this more next week when you start talking about Wesrick, but again, the book has these 6 core beliefs. We're not going to go through those because I talk about them next week, and I give you some scenarios for you to kind of pause and think about how your own nursing care aligns with those core beliefs of Wesrick. The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. Helen Keller. Thank you guys so much for watching my week 3 tutorial video. I hope this is helpful for you, and I will see you next week. Bye.